Hello, Danny Peterson here from Calgary's Emergency Department Point of Care Ultrasound Group. Thanks to the hard work by people like Kyle McLaughlin, Mark Bromley, Kip Rogers, Aaron Bugby, and others, we're excited to finally reintroduce the endocavitary ultrasound probes to the emergency department at Foothills Hospital. This mini tutorial is meant to introduce everyone to the process by which the probes will be stored and cleaned in the ED, and some very basics of how to prepare the probe for scanning and some basic scanning techniques. The probes are stored in a plastic container in the clean utility room in the B area. We currently have 2 ultrasound probes in use. The probe will need to be removed from the container and attached to one of the 3 docking ports on the underside of the machine prior to use. Mark will demonstrate how to change the ultrasound probe in this short, unprofessional video clip that we recorded about 5 years ago when we first thought we might have this process all figured out.
Alright, as you guys may or may not know, we finally have access to our vaginal probes again. And so we're going to run through a quick tutorial to let you guys know how to hook them up, how to prepare the probe to keep it sterile, and how to perform the scans so we can keep our patients safe and keep our program safe. So we'll start with the machine. The first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to switch out one of these probes that we have already attached to the machine, and we're going to want to put in our transvaginal probe. The first thing to do to keep the machine safe is you either have to freeze the image or you can power down the machine. Once this is done, you need to choose which probe you're going to take off. And each of these probes have a locking mechanism that you can see here. So that's in the locked position. If you want to unlock it, you flip the latch up, rotate it 90 degrees, and then that'll disengage it and you can pull the probe out. If you come down here, you can see how we have our probes here. I'm going to take off the fast probe. So I flip it down, rotate 90 degrees maybe. There we go. Comes off. We want to make sure we're keeping these probes in a safe place so they're not going to drop. Keep the transvaginal probe. Again, have it in the unlocked position. Put it into the slot, rotate 90 degrees, and clip it in. Once we've done that, we can power the machine back on. And then once the machine is back on, then we just select the transvaginal probe.
Please note that this process will work for the M-Turbo, Edge, and Edge 2 machines with the endocavitary probe. Next, we'll watch Mark as he prepares the ultrasound probe for use.
Perfect. So, the next step is going to be we want to prepare the probe, and this is to optimize patient safety. These probes are going to be sterilized after every use, but we want to make sure that we're being extra careful with our patient safety. The second thing we have to consider is image optimization. So the first thing that we need to do is start by putting some ultrasound gel on the end of the endocavitary probe. We want to make sure we have enough there that we're able to generate a good image. The second step is we'll have our probe covers. Now, there are specific endocavitary probe covers that we'll be getting. It's also acceptable to use a condom, which we'll have here as well too. Both of those fall within the recommendations of Health Canada for disease prevention. These are the probe covers that you're familiar with for doing our sterile procedures using our regular probes. We have the ultrasound jelly here. What we're going to do is just slide the probe on here. This isn't a sterile procedure, so you don't need to be particularly careful. This is just to minimize infectious complications. Once you get the probe cover on, you want to take an elastic, put that on, and then just make sure we're pushing all the bubbles out of the way. The last step is you want to put muco, not our ultrasound gel, on the outside. That's because some women find the ultrasound gel irritating to the vaginal mucosa. Once this is done, the probe is prepared, and you can move on to doing the scan.
Remember, the key points here are to use ultrasound gel inside the probe cover and muco outside the probe cover. Also, please place the elastic band lower on the ultrasound handle if you use one at all, as the elastic band may cause discomfort when the probe is inserted and removed. Finally, Mark is going to walk us through the very basics of image generation and scanning technique in this final video.
Okay. So now, in actual performing the scan, the first thing is we have to insert the probe. So remember, we have our sterilely prepared probe. It's covered in our muco, not as irritating. You can either ask the patients to insert the probe themselves, or if we're going to do it, I want to make sure that we're doing it gently. Remember that the vagina runs slightly posterior from the introitus, so when we insert the probe, we're going to be moving it slightly posterior as well too. The probe, the way it's situated, you can feel there's a little bit of a handle and a groove to rest your thumb in. And so that thumb is going to be pointing towards the ceiling when we start. We insert the probe gently, and again running it slightly posterior. And then once we get about 4 or 5 centimeters in past the introitus, then we'll start to see an image on the screen that looks like the cervix. Right now we're in the sagittal plane, so we're looking up, down, and the first thing we need to do once we've identified uterine tissue is make sure that it's juxtaposed to the bladder. To do that, no matter which plane we're in, you're going to put the probe handle down, and what that's going to do is that's going to lift the imaging head up until we can see the bladder. Once we've found the bladder, the next thing we want to do is slowly sweep from left to right until the uterus completely disappears. And again, we're looking for an intrauterine pregnancy. We're looking for our double ring sign. And that should be right in the middle, right in the black of what we've identified as the uterus. Once we've swept all the way through, we're going to rotate 90 degrees, and that will put us into the coronal plane. Again, we want to identify the bladder, so to do that, we're going to tip the probe handle down. And then once that's done, we're going to sweep up and down in the AP plane. Again, we're going all the way until the uterus disappears in both planes. The most important thing, again, is we have to make sure that the bladder and the uterus are juxtaposed. It's really easy to wander in the adnexa, and you need to make sure that what you think is the uterus and where you see that pregnancy is actually the uterus, and it's inside the uterus. That's it.
Key points here are to scan in both the sagittal plane with the probe marker pointing up and the coronal plane with the probe marker pointing to the patient's right. Remember that it is imperative that the bladder-uterine juxtaposition is confirmed before evaluating the uterus. The bladder is found in both the sagittal and coronal planes by lowering the probe handle. After using, the probe cover is to be removed, the probe itself wiped with a towel and Virox wipes and placed into the plastic bag located next to the probe containers. The probe, which should now be in the plastic bag, not shown in this image, is then placed back into the container, and the container will be sent for cleaning. This is the protocol that has been developed in order to get the probe cleaned both during regular weekday hours and after hours and on weekends. A copy of this protocol should be inside each ultrasound container. Okay, that's it for now. I'm always happy to answer any questions you might have about transvaginal scanning or ultrasound in general. If you would like more details regarding transvaginal point-of-care ultrasound, SAEM has a narrated lecture series on the topic that can be found on their website. That's it. Thanks for your time. Happy scanning.